It's Shannon.
Hello, and nothing to do with Shannon Live.
It's Shannon.
Because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
My kids empowered me to get out.
What's going on with this remote learning and in the midst of COVID?
Working for different elected officials, learning and understanding how to put your community first.
Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon. I am so excited about the show tonight because we have two special guests on that's going to break it down to us about all of this gun violence and everything that's going on in the world today. I don't even know what to say at this point. Dr. Vanessa, do you know what we need to be saying at this point? I don't know,
but I'm so excited. I can't wait to just introduce our guests and bring it on. We can get this conversation started.
So let's bring them on.
Exactly. Our special guest tonight is Dr. Oscar Odom III. He currently serves as the Vice President of Security for the Brooklyn Navy Yard Development Corporation. He's a professor for emergency disaster management and a retired detective in NYPD. Our other guest today is Chaplain Michelle Randall Williams. She's a retired 37-year vet of New York NYPD first grade detective and currently sits on the New York State Governor's Law Enforcement Accreditation Council. Welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you so much for coming. We're just so glad to have you on tonight because as you can see with what happened today with I call it the terrorist attack in the subway. I don't know if they want to call it that, but that's what I'm calling it, a terrorist attack in the subway. And we just want to just get right down to the nitty gritty. We're going to start with you, Dr. Odom. With all of this going on, I mean, every time something happened, they on TV said this shouldn't happen again. We're not going to let this happen again. But there's no end to this. There's no end to this. I don't even know where we would start to say, how can we end this? Because there's no end as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, definitely. You know, when you look at all the aspects of crime and you look at the different activities that are taking place, you know, I would say that you would have to go back to the family structure and the community structure. I think that is the key to it because I can talk to you about the data and we can look at the numbers, but the key, even in looking at the data and the numbers, is what happens under that. And from today's shooting, where we see that it was a Black male that they have identified so far as being the shooter, that makes one, you know, begin to pause and look at what's happening. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you some just quick numbers on this, but the numbers are very sensitive because it hits home and makes you think about it. I always say to my students when I look at crime and I look at certain things that take place, I say, for example, 1 year working in the precinct, we had 200 murders. So I look at this, I say 200 murders. If you have 200 murders, that means right away that you have 200 men, say, for example, that are dead. And I say that if each of those 200 men had a minimum of 2 kids each, now that's 200 times 2. So what that means is you have 200 men that are dead. And then when you go 200 times 2, that means that's 400. So now you have 400 from that. And you're looking at if each of those 200 men had a minimum of 2 kids, you now have 400 kids that are without a father. And not only that, to take it another level, if you do the 200 times 2, you got 400 men, you got 200 missing from the community, and you got another 400 that are doing a minimum of 25 to life. And if each of those 600 men at a minimum had 2 kids, now you have 1,200 kids without a father. So until we look at that right away, that's going to be our big issues. We could say what everybody else is doing, but I think that we need to take care of our own backyard first. If we work on ourselves, this will be less issues for us to deal with on the crime level. Because like I said, when you look at those basic numbers, 200 dead times 2 equal 400. And the minimum of 2 men committing each crime, meaning that now you have a total of 600 men missing from the community. And if each of those men have 2 kids, that's 1,200. Now you have 1,200 kids without a father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. But the thing about it is when we try to bring the community together and the family, even when something happening and you try to talk to the parents about their kids, and ask them to come out to meetings or come to community meetings. Nobody wants to come to the community meeting to find out anything of what's going on. Then if you talk to them about their kids in school or whatever, they're not interested in you telling them about anything of the behavior of their kids in school. It's about, why are you talking to my kid that way? You don't have no right to say anything to my kid. So how can we even get the community people to come together to do anything? This is the whole problem.
Well, we've lost the whole element of a family, as Professor Odom said. We've lost a whole generation of family, and things are going where it takes a whole village to raise a child. It takes a whole city to stop this violence. We have so many underlining situations that have been identified just through the years. You know, we don't have programs for our children. We don't have fresh air or spaces for them to play in. The school budgets has been cut, and there's, you know, a child cannot be sitting all day long in one place, and then after they don't have an opportunity to let loose all of this excess energy. We as adults sometimes can contain that because we are sedate. I mean, you know, sometimes we have to sit behind a desk, we have to go to work. And as Professor Odom said, it's very important that we realize that this is not something that's new. If we don't all come together in unity in the community, then we are all going to perish, because we need each other. And so, as you know, as our mayor has come on with former police experience, he has at least implemented things that are a change, a different. We have been talking about the same issues. We have identified issues way back since the police department has been formulated. There's issues with gangs, there's issue with violence, there's issue with poor housing, and COVID has expanded that so largely. And the disparities that our people in communities of color have been experienced. This is not the first time that the disparities of health and housing, clothing, and education has been identified. It's been going on for years. So we have to support the engine, and that is the mayor at this time. We have to support him in doing the changes that is necessary. He went through the police department. We have a big elephant in the room. We know that racism exists everywhere, in every profession, every occupation. And so we can't just blame it on racism. We have to blame it on society as it is today. We have to make people accountable for. We have bad police, physicians, we have bad teachers, we have bad everybody. You cannot put all the responsibility on law enforcement and police officers. We are not trained to take care of all the mental issues, take care of the homeless, to take care of the people that's housed, take care of the criminals that have just come back into the system. Because once they come back into the system, where are they going to go? They're going to go back into the same element, the systematic racism and the destruction of neighborhoods. And now they can't even come back to neighborhoods that was traditionally their neighborhood. So,
but you know, Michelle, yeah, I agree with you, and I echo and agree the sentiments of Dr. Odom as well. But we live in a systemic racistic structure that we live in. It's a system that's working, designed how it is currently working. The problem is we have these fragmented families, these fragmented communities. What do we do today? Even if, how can we assist the mayor? What can we do as a community to bring situations like this together? Because my biggest concern is what's going to happen with the copycat. The next one is going to do it. That somebody else is going to try it. Where do we stand as a people?
Well, first of all, and like I said, I'm not in agreement with any one way of solving this. But we know way back during the David Dinkins administration, he originally brought in community policing. He tried to implement that program. And I say to this, and I say it openly and honestly, I believe that's why he's a one-time mayor, because he wanted to implement that the community and the neighborhood look like the people in which they are policing. And because you get a further education that can't be trained to you when you are a police officer or law enforcement that is in the neighborhood in which you are policing, because you know culture is. If your pants are sagging or something like, that's a culture. That's not saying that you're a criminal. There's certain things that when you live in that neighborhood and came from that neighborhood and now you're a police officer. So that is one thing. But also we need to let our children understand civil service, firemen, police in the neighborhoods that you're in is an excellent job. And if you want to change, you said, defund the police or Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, but you have to make sure that you are part of the solution and not part of the problem. You may make a lot more money with drugs, selling drugs, or being in a gang,
Right.
but something, how long is that going to last? The statistics say that you may not live to reach your 21st birthday or 22nd birthday.
Right, but Michelle, not cutting you off, but and Dr. Odom, you too. Now we was talking about what we need to do, right? What we should do. Now we have a mayor who comes from the department, who knows kind of how to put things together. And to me, he's trying to put things in place. He's reaching out to the people on a different level, the state, the federal government. He's trying to put things in place. But even when he's trying to put things in place, we are still trying to knock him back and knock him down rather than supporting him. Now, when he went to Albany, they was complaining because he was up there in Albany. They was complaining because he was talking to Governor Cuomo, trying to get help from there. I mean, so how can we move forward if we can't get our people to support what is trying to be put in place?
Well,
that's
one
the
of the,
problem I see.
right. That's the issue. But I go back to what they used to say in the military: when in charge, take charge. And certain times, as a leader like the mayor, he's going to have to make decisions, and he's going to have to make tough decisions like he's making. And even though people may not agree with it, in the long run, it will bear fruit. And that's what he has to do and continue to do. It's just like when he was talking about the different parts of the bail law. But when you look at that, as I always stated, and on numerous channels, I will always say with the bail law, reforming the bail law is good, provided there is follow-up treatment and assistance to the people who you are giving this bail. If you have no bail just to let them out, just to say that I let them out, and this is a bad system, you do a disservice to the person and you do a disservice to the community, because you're letting this person right back out again without the tools to survive in society and to be a productive member. You're just letting them out to do something worse, to come back to do more time and or to injure people in their communities, because most crimes are committed by people against each other that live in the same community. So if we want to do this, let's help people and train them and educate them if we're going to do this, as opposed to just letting them out. And this is some of the things that he's doing. And some of the people may disagree with what he's doing now with cleaning up the homeless and getting them off the streets and trying to put them there and put them into certain programs. Sometimes you have to play hardball in order to do this, because one of the things I can attest to, because I know the mayor personally and have worked with him before, is that his heart is in the right place. His concern is there. He has shown it inside the belly of the beast, so to speak, while he was in the police department, by fighting against practices that were bad. So he did. So he demonstrated that. So now it's just a matter of, when you look at these different criminal justice practices, to do things the right way. It's just like when there was a big thing about the stop, question, and frisk. Everybody was upset with it. But what people don't realize is that, first of all, stop, question, and frisk is a legal practice. First, it was just the way that it was executed, right?
Can you hold that thought? We got to go to break.
Oh, okay, no problem. Go to break.
We lost track of time.
No problem. Go to break.
We'll be back.
Shannon. It's Shannon.
Where's your emergency?
Everyone's on their way. What happened? Your friend's not breathing. Yes, please get my mom and dad. Oh my God!
we're back. Our topic tonight is say something, do nothing. Now, before we went to break, Dr. Odom, you was talking about coming back from break. I want to say, and I know people don't, have a lot to always say about the stop and frisk, about the other programs, some of the other programs that's put in place. But as far as I can remember, when we had the community policing, the stop and frisk, I didn't see as much crime going on as I see now. I didn't. So you might have a problem with the stop and frisk. Yeah, maybe they did some things to you that they're not supposed to do or whatever. We can straighten that part out about training them how to do the stop and frisk. But we need to go back to that as far as I'm concerned. And we need to go back to this community policing where you need to live down here in the 5 boroughs for you to work here, because how are you coming from someplace else and don't have a clue about the neighborhood and the people that you're going to be patrolling? Because we used to could walk up to the police officer, ask them questions, talk to them, and they would get to know you in the neighborhood and stuff. But now you don't even know who they are, and they're not caring who we are. That's the problem. And all police are not bad. Look, there's some good officers out there.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say anything bad about them because they're not.
And it's important.
I'm just talking about the programs that we need to put back in place.
Right.
Yeah, it's very important that what you saying, as Professor Odom was saying, that the how are we going to get this together is we all have to work together. There are so many layers of dysfunctioning and ineffective and inefficient ways of doing things that we have to. What our mayor has to do, we have to support him. In every level we have to support him, because he came into a very crucial time, and previous people the mayors haven't been doing what they were supposed to do, so it's gotten even worse. And now, so what we have to do, he's got to look back, and he's a very smart person. He's lived through it. He knows about the racism. He knows about the police department, and he knows the layer of problems and issues that have to be addressed. But you know something? It's more than just getting the vote and getting the person in. We, as a community, has to support them. I don't care who's not doing
on the bottom.
We have to do it on the ground. The people that's on the ground, the community activists, the people that are saying something and doing something, are the people that.
But those are the ones complaining, Michelle. Those are the ones that's complaining, giving him a hard time.
But
you're the ones on the ground.
You can complain. You can complain. Like he said, you can complain all you want to complain. But I am bringing in the science. I'm bringing in the research, and I am the mayor. And so I'm making the decision. Now give it a chance. The people, look, did they complain about the other? Well, how many mayors do we have? We had up to, I don't know how many mayors have we had. But all of them, somebody complained about each and every one of them. But what he is very experienced with is the problems. We are the topic. So now he is in the position to do what he has to do. People was complaining about, how do you do this without any money? So when he went up to Albany, he addressed them, because that's something other mayors didn't do. So why?
This is what I'm saying.
You can complain, but he's still going to do what he has to do. He's a strong Black man, and he has been through the system, so he knows it firsthand. So now we just have to give him faith. And we have to bring everything to God. He's a God-fearing man. He believes in the structure of family. He's told many times the support of his mother. And I have faith that he will do all that needs to be done.
But then how do we get the people on the ground, the community people who look like us, come together?
Go ahead, Dr. Odom, because I want to chime in after you on the topic of the show. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. See, one of the things, like, do something, say something, whatever, like this. One of the key things that we have to do is like outreach, of course, on the ground, get organizations involved, speak to our young people and deal with them. Like I always say, I sit up here now and yes, my name is Dr. Oscar Odom III. However, I was born and raised in the Tompkins housing projects in Bedford-Stuyvesant. When I grew up, they used to call it do or die Bed-Stuy.
Exactly.
So I know what it's like to be on the ground, to grow up in the projects, the hood, and experience all these different challenges and all of these different obstacles and survival and trying to survive within there. I understand that. And what I do is now I take that from being a criminal justice practitioner and see how do I mesh that? How do I take that competitiveness that they have in the streets and redirect that energy to something else? How do I take that energy and redirect it so that now they could go to school, that they can start their own businesses? How do I redirect that energy so that they could have more self-love and not self-hatred, and not believe in certain times when people are stereotyping us and putting stuff on the news, and how to fight back at that? And I always look back and I say about our ancestors, if they did not endure and overcome all of that, we wouldn't be here. So at certain times they turn over in their graves when they see that the way that we treat one another, because they had it bad. And a lot of people don't realize still how bad it is. And I will say this and then let somebody else speak. In Mississippi, from 1988 to 1993, they found 47 Black males hung in their prison cells. I was in law school when I went to work on the cases. 1988 to 1993. Now I tell people, if you look, the United States Constitution, the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, was abolished in 1865. Mississippi abolished it in 2013 in their state constitution. Now from 1865 to 2013, that is a long time to have in your state constitution about slavery, ending slavery. So the thing is, we have to get together, redirect ourselves, like somebody's saying, have our purpose and begin to unite and stop being like crabs in a barrel and begin to help one another. And at certain times we have to give tough love, when in charge, take charge, make a decision. And you may not agree with it in the beginning, but the person in charge is responsible for that. Heavy weighs the head who holds the crown. And so that person have to direct us, and we be able to judge, and we'll be able to look at the fruits that we will bear from this thing. Because in the meantime, we may stand up, we may have tough faces. I don't believe in that. I don't think this is this. But somebody has to lead us, and somebody has to do that, and people have to back up. Or else, one of the things that happens is then this criminal justice system gets involved. And then when they get involved, it's no real rehabilitation. It's more of punishment, no retribution. It's more punishment. And so what happens is when you go into the penal institutions and all you do is you're rough and tough and surviving the whole time. And then when you come out, now people want you to be nice. You've been fighting for 20, 25 years, surviving, shanking, trying to do it. And then all of a sudden, because you come across a gate, you're supposed to change. That is not going to happen. So we have to look at these things. These are things, and we got to look at the family unit, and we have to get a lot of our organizations to come back to the community and begin to work with our young Black men and women, and especially our Black men, to work with them. It's very important.
But Dr. Odom, you have a motto: see something, do nothing. Why do you feel that it's so difficult for people to get involved if they see something and expect you to do something?
Right. Well, what happens is so tough is that a lot of times people talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk. It's all this, and they're not there. And like you said, you're not putting your money where your mouth is. To whom much is given, much is required. And we have to think that we need to do this to make sure that we are squared away. And then when you have different communities, everybody has to begin to stick together. They have to get on that one accord. We got to have education. That's why some schools even have that. If you put your kids in our school, you have to go through a training program, because you're not going to just drop them. Right. So like you think you have a babysitter. No, you're going to have to go through a training program too. So it's going to be on board. So it's going to help with the family unit, because what happens is if we don't do that, then what happens is, once again, here's that criminal justice system just waiting to pick you up when you go just according to the rules and regulations there. When I went to military high school in Long Island, and this was many years ago, and we asked the judge, why do you incarcerate people of color? And the judge, and this was in the 70s, early 70s, he came up straight. He said, because if I let them out, they don't have anything else to do but to get in trouble again. This was a judge. I was in a military school, private school, on a football side, and he was telling us, because they, if I let them out, they just want to get in trouble again. They don't have nothing to do. So I put him in there. So this was a judge, blatant, saying that this is what he would do because you had no place to go. So we have to put a bunch of mechanisms in place and different alternatives for people in our communities, especially those who get in trouble, these different organizations, for employment, for mentoring, because the numbers that I gave you earlier when I spoke about 200 men being incarcerated, 200 murdered times 2 to commit the crime, 200 times 2 is 400. Now you got 400 plus 600, meaning 12. Right there, you have 600 men missing from the community because 200 are dead, 400 are doing 25 to life. And if each of them had 2 kids, now you have 1,200 kids without a father for at least 25 to life or for permanently because of the ones that's murdered. So until we begin to identify those problems in a root, all the other stuff is afterwards. We got to do, this is what I say. If we take care of stuff in the community, then we don't have to worry about the criminal justice system coming and getting involved, because cops don't call you up and say, hey, is there any crime going on? You want me to come over there? Something going on?
Exactly.
We call them, or somebody calls 911 and then they come. Right. They never call us up. Oh, give me a number to the around. Hey, anything going on? Let me know where to go. Yeah. So it goes the opposite way,
Yeah, but
the thing.
That's what I.
But Michelle, can you
go ahead on, Michelle? Finish your point real quick. We got to go.
I just was going to say that's what I said in the beginning. We're starting from the top down. We need to start from the bottom up, because the community is the key part now. There's always going to be a police department, but what in between there is the many layers of deficiency and inefficiency that is going on that are not addressing our kids. Kids are kids. They're just like. Every race of kid has a lot of energy, like Dr. Odom said, but we don't have anything in place to help them to get. They have too much ample time to get in trouble, And so there was a program. You said, what can we do? You remember the program? I don't know if anyone was in the program. Inner city schools, like especially in Bed-Stuy and in Brooklyn, they had a program that the mayor's office set up, the city set up. It was called Model Cities. Do you know how many people today are politicians and are doing well because of that little extra help of math and science? It's equal to, it's not even equal, but it's like the STEM program. They even gave them an incentive. If you go to Model Cities, which is on a college, nice in the country, beautiful Cornell, Kirtland, all Ithaca, all of these colleges, then you could actually get a college credit to go to a school. It gave them something to strive for. It gave them a little extra boost, because we know that we are deficient in math and science. That's why other people come in.
Michelle, not cutting you off. I'm gonna have to cut you off here because we got to end this portion of the show. Okay. I mean, it's been hot, it's been real, and we're gonna finish this discussion in our after show coming up right after this show here. So we want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you for your comments and towards what we was talking about. So we hope you got something out of this show, and you can still catch us in the after show. We're coming right up after the show ends. So you can go to Facebook or YouTube and continue watching us on the after show. So thank you again for coming. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Dr. Odom, for this part of the show. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Today's show is sponsored by Abu's Bakery. If you have a sweet tooth, stop by Abu's Bakery for some delicious cakes and pies.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. Keeping it real.
I hope you stuck around for our after show. Thank you, Ms. Williams and Dr. Odom, for sticking around. But let me say this, because I have to get this off my chest. My thing is we keep repeating the same stuff over and over as far as I'm concerned about what we don't have and what we don't have in place and what we have to put in place. We've been saying this for years and years and years and years. There are some things out there. There are some programs out there. There's a lot of not-for-profit organizations that has programs that young people can get involved in. As a family and parents, you have such stuff out for your kids to get involved in. You can't just say there's nothing out there for our kids to get involved in, because there are some things for them to get involved in. But we as parents have to search those things out and find something for our kids to get involved in, because not only that, the parents also have to go back to letting the village help them raise the kid, because you could recommend something for that child to be in or whatever, or if the kid is misbehaving or whatever, you can say something to the child. But nowadays, their parent don't want you to say anything to their child. They don't. If they see them doing something they don't have any business doing, why are you saying something to my child? But then when they get cracked over the head or get killed or whatever, then they carry it on and say, well, why didn't you help my child? You was there or whatever. Then you don't know what to do, because, oh, you don't want me to discipline them or say anything to me. If I go and tell you, oh, well, this is a program that your child can get in, but you don't even follow up to see about the program for your child to get in. So, I mean, we keep saying there's nothing out there. There's some things out there that young people can get involved in.
Right.
But-
There is a lot of stuff out there. I guess the issue is also is that what we have to do is, like, when we look at the criminal justice system and we go back and we look at structure of family and religious based, whatever, the tough part is that if you have people who are parents who were never taught how to be a parent, then that's where we have issues, because they don't know how to be a parent. And because they don't know how to be a parent, it passes on to their kids, because they don't know. At certain times, they want other people to raise them because they don't know. And what happens is, when they do that, the criminal justice system becomes their parent and begins to raise them. So, it's hard to say, they should have a requirement of parenting classes to do this, to help build and show them what it's like, because otherwise the end result can be the criminal justice system in which they look at. And it's like this. When people talk about the projects, if you're familiar with New York City, say the Marcy housing projects, and then we have Stuyvesant Town in Manhattan. Stuyvesant Town and the Marcy projects look exactly alike. The difference is the mindset of the people inside the apartments. Because when you move certain people out with a certain mindset, it now becomes condos and co-ops.
Right.
Before, it was projects.
Right.
But now, when you have a different mindset of the people inside the buildings, it becomes different. And until we begin to change people's mindset, and like I said, it may sound tough, but to give people parenting classes or to have required meetings, that's one of the ways to change it. Because if you're expecting the kids to change their parents, that's a big gamble, and that's hard, and that's going to be far and few in between. And every blue moon, we have to have classes for them how to do it. And though this may not be an appropriate one to use because of the issues that happen, there are so many people that used to watch the Cosby Show, and when Oprah had something on it, they said they learned how to act like a family because of watching the Cosby Show. Now, remember, he had professionals, Dr. Toussaint, world-renowned psychiatrist, talk about the dynamics and the talking and what it is to be a family. And if you don't have that, like I said, the criminal justice system is always there to pick up where you don't. And then that's what happens when we get ruined. Then sometimes, some people come out and they change, but we don't want that to be the venue or the avenue of change, to have to go through a penal institution in order to change.
But
we want to try to do that before then, prevent
right,
that from being the place.
Right, but you know what? The criminal justice system is becoming to be more profitable, like a business.
Of course.
Okay, so when you bring people in this space and you bring people out of the community, particularly the Black and brown marginalized community, and you take them upstate, they're being counted as residents, and they're being referenced as $1 million blocks, and there's no money coming back to community of origin. They're making the correction facility too convenient. It becomes revolving doors. They're not getting any services from there. They're not coming. It's becoming more of a business. Okay, we want to talk about families and bringing families, parents to learn about family. What about these governmental programs that they're receiving governmental supplemental monetary benefits from? Why they don't have mandatory prerequisites for them to get those benefits, like parenting, the teaching? Why are they just so easy to get these benefits and they can't help facilitate, parents being parents?
But that's the new. But
Well,
with the program, here's the unique part. That's New York. Other states, especially the southern states, they have you going through a program, and then after that, you getting cut off. But New York State, we're very liberal that you could be on it for life.
Liberal? You know why it's liberal? Because the system is working exactly how it's designed to work.
Oh yes,
profitable for the agency. But like, I'm a mother of two and parents, so I know, Oscar, you said, and everyone on the line says, like, the family element is very important. But there are a lot of good children and kids that came with no parents. There's a Harvard graduate, a couple of Harvard graduates that was on the train. They get their education and stuff like that. So that is one of the excuses that we have been using all along. And as we started out, it takes a whole village to raise a child. It takes a whole community, because if they wanted to change, it's more profitable to have them upstate, giving the salaries to the people up there that are the court officers and in the state penitentiary. It's more lucrative to have a felony and send them upstate, because they get money up there, and they're financing the salaries for the people that's there that maybe don't look like the people that they're in the prison. So I mean, we know that systematic racism goes along, and it's not just in it's in everything that we do, from death to life. So we have to stop. We realize it now. We have identified a million times over with this COVID disparities that people of color are suffering and going through. And so now we have to do, as this started out, we have to do something. So now we have someone who is making some changes. It's taking this long for it to get to where it's at, so it's not going to happen overnight. But we have to all come together and collectively be the think tank that is needed to bring it to a level so we can sustain. If we all don't, as I said in the beginning, all come together and work together and give a little piece of this and be supportive of each other, then we're all going to perish together. And last but not least, I feel that when we took out having faith in something or somebody, and that's a faith based in God, then when we took that out of the schools, out of the community, stuff like that, everything goes. Look at all the immorality. Look at all the stuff that's going on. They support in the school system that the things is not proper. It's not what I believe in, and it's not what the Bible-based people believe in. And so I have to say that too, because that was the beginning of the end. And most of the educators on the line, were in the school system, and they know that the broken window theory, as Professor Odom said, is very real. If you're in those conditions, on those marginal conditions, and the dilapidatory school systems and all the things that they're surrounded with, what hope do you have? What faith or hope do you have? If you don't even have a faith in a divine faith, what faith are you going to have when you in a roach-infested apartment, or your mother and father, or they may not even be a father? What image do you have, but other than what's on TV? And so a lot of these things, like even today, might have been a copycat thing, because you get so much attention when you do wrong. How much attention you get? How many times do you turn on the TV and you see something good, somebody a faith-based or a religious or a community-based, or someone that is a community activist, they said, oh, they did a good thing. They fed, or they gave 500 people, or like, one of the churches right here in Bed-Stuy that has been through COVID has fed over 300 families, some of them that have working people in their families, but they're under the poverty line. So, unless we identify these things and work behind somebody, we have to stop, just complaining. We have to start doing. We have to start supporting the people that are supporting us. That means every vote should count. You should take pride in vetting the people that are saying they're representing us, because we know that these issues have been since the beginning of time, almost the issues for Black and brown people. Now it's time for the people that say they're going to do something for us. If you do something, then, I mean, if you say something, do it. You got our vote and you said you're going to do this, but we have to be behind them, because there it's, the systematic system is set up. The layers are set up for us to fail all the way around, from
But don't you
property
think?
to the
But don't you think? I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel that we need to start helping ourselves and stop waiting for somebody to bring us. Stop waiting for everybody to bring us everything. There are some things that we can do to help ourselves, and some of us do not want to do that.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but any one of you on this line haven't helped yourself? Okay, I think everyone on there, due to the option, I'm from a family of 9. I don't think anybody went to college until now. All 9 of my siblings in college and retired and so forth and so on. And we was in humble beginnings, no running water or whatever, but it was upstate New York. So when you say that we have to start helping ourselves, we have to help ourselves, but it is our godly duty to help others too. So now that we have
it is our duty to help other people too, but we still got to start with helping ourselves also. That's how it starts, is you start helping yourself. And then that way we help somebody else, and somebody else help us or whatever. But we still got to start doing things to help ourselves also. That's how I look at it.
There's not a person on this line or in that chat that has not helped himself. You told me personally offline, you told me that in the schools, in the school system which you was in, I have a family members that was principals and education. I have a degree in teaching and education, elementary education and special ed. So I don't think that, and everybody's entitled to their personal opinion. I don't think that is being neglected here, because if we're not good to ourselves, we're no good to anybody. And so I think that we all, each and every one of us on this line here, has a passion for helping other people, and we just want to know how to do that. And what we started out with is how we do that is to support each other. Get out of this mindset of the crab in the barrel thing. Stop looking at somebody else's, what's in somebody else's pocketbook, and try to embrace each other. We hate ourselves. We have learned to hate ourselves from slavery times to now. Other races of people that have gone through catastrophes and holocausts and other things like that, they love each other. They know that if they don't come together and work for each other, and they'll let nothing go out of their neighborhood and work for each other, no matter how bad you may be, but they succeed.
That's exactly what I said earlier. I said the community has to work together with each other. And the community is the people in the community. So that's the people in the community has to be working and coming together. And so that's how we build the community, because we're working together, but we got to get other people on board. We got to get everybody on board to be working, not someone standing to the side talking about what they can't do. You don't know what you can do until you start trying to see what you can do. That's what I'm saying.
But I think sometimes too, when we talked about the criminal justice system earlier and people being incarcerated, when these individuals do those 10, 20, 25 years and come back into society, back in the community, what good are they in the community? They can't get jobs, they can't vote, they can't do things. So how are they supposed to blend in to be part of the community?
Yeah. And that's the problem. And that's what I said before when I spoke about, it's not a form set up as a rehabilitation. It's basically set up as a punishment. My undergraduate degree is in corrections administration. And one of the things that we always looked at was, we said that basically the way society is set up across the country, it's more or less punishment. Nobody's really setting up a rehabilitation in order for you to help you out to come and assimilate in society. And at one of the conferences, what I presented was, when people stated that, well, if we're letting them out, they should be ready to go out there and just ready to hit the ground running. So I said to them, so what I'm going to do, the same way how you feel that some of them feel comfortable inside prison, but uncomfortable when they come outside, I'm going to put you in prison. So tell me how comfortable you feel while you're in prison. when you have to go out in the yard and you have to interact with other inmates. Tell me how you feel. You feel the same way how they feel after they get released and they come out into society, and now you expect them to function. I put you in there and now you can't function. There are even now inmates that have programs where they train people who may be white collar or whatever, who never been to prison before and are about to go to prison. They have programs where they train them how to survive when they go to prison. Now they making money off of training them how to survive inside there because they can't. And so now they get a chance to experience or understand that when you're telling somebody to come back out here after being incarcerated to just hit the ground running, they realize that if you go in there, they cannot hit the ground running. So that jars the bell to them to make them think and see what is taking place, because it's tough. Because when you come out here, things have changed. You know, people have been in prison so long that they come out. Now we got computers, we got cell phones, we got all these different things. You know, you got Cash App, you got this, Twitter, whatever. They don't know anything about that, you know, and it's tough and it's hard to adapt. So unless we truly have with and we fight for in our criminal justice system to have some sort of rehabilitation for people when they're coming back out to assimilate in society and be what they say productive members of society, we're just going to keep the cycle going on and on and on. And the tough part is that when we do that, then the next thing you know, then you have not only them going to prison, but now you got their kids, you got their grandkids, you know, all going to prison. I had a guy that grew up with me, one of my classmates. He was in the papers before. Him, his father, and his brother was in Greenhaven prison together. Father and his two sons, you know, and watch how the cycle just kept on going on and on. And we have to break that, you know, and we have, you know, like I tell people, Jesus went to jail, you know. So if Jesus went to jail, if you're a believer, and he went to jail and he came out and he did different things, then we shouldn't turn our nose up to those who wind up going in there, and we should be able to help them when they come out to assimilate, to get jobs, to be productive members of society, as they say it, and to be able to help them out. But until we do that, once again, we're going to keep on repeating the cycle. But a lot of the stuff starts with us. And we have to begin to work together once again as a community. We have to have tough love in certain situations where we have requirements in order for people to do it. Because like I always say that if you don't raise them, the criminal justice system will. You know, they will raise them and they take them. And as you were stating before, Olio was stating that when they go into the criminal justice system, like you were saying, Dr. Vanessa, they make money. And this is how I tell my students. I say, if you want to stop them, you stop going there, because when you go there, the first person who's going to get paid is the police officer, then the DA, then the defense attorney, then the probation or the parole officer, then the correction officer, then the judge, then the person that make your boots, then the person that make your uniform, then the person that make your uniform. I said, all of these people getting paid, then the doctors and the nurses that are, while you're incarcerated, they're going to get money. And now these people are going to get pension and they're going to get jobs. And if you remember a few years ago, when they was going to close some of the upstate prisons, the unions went crazy. No, you can't do this. You know, you need to feed us some more people. Why? So that they can make money. And the criminal justice system is a feeder, because once you get in, everybody begins to collect money off of you. You're not getting paid anymore. They're getting paid. Everybody's making money off of you once you get inside that criminal
justice. See, this is what I was saying before about, you know, Dr. Vanessa, you always say, oh, that's the way the system was designed for these things to happen. What I'm saying is, we try to prevent the people from going into prison.
No, I understand that.
So they don't have to go into prison.
Right, but what I say is that the system is working how it's designed to work. So once we keep following the protocol of what the system is doing, we fall into that subset of what it's designed to do.
That's exactly. So that's what I'm saying. We need to prevent that. We know the system is set up that way, but what do we do to keep from going in there?
Right. Even if you went in there, right? Even if you went in there, right? Even if you went in there, why is it that there's no mandated education? Why is it like a resort? Why are they out? I couldn't say 3 meals in the cot here and there, no problem. I get it. But why they have so much freedom? Why you got more inmates walking around like they own the jails and doing it? Why do they have so much rights? That's why. Stop making it so comfortable for them to be there.
If you break the cycle, like you're saying, then those people would not be. And you have to start. You Professor Odom said, you have to break the cycle, and you have to prevent them from going. It's so many layers. There's so many layers before they get there that need to be addressed. It's set up, like you said, the system is set up. The racism and stuff that's set up is designed exactly where they want it. It's feeding into the other end instead of feeding into them not going in there. And that means, adequate housing. That means food. That means health. That means programs and stuff that will educate not only the parents, but keep the kids occupied. Put them in. Not everybody's ready for college, but everybody thinks they're going to be an NBA star, and there's 1 out of a million that makes it there. So so they want fast money. You can't get fast money like that. You have to be patient. You have to do the things that you need to do to sustain yourself for life. How many people go into professional sports and sports and entertainment is only options for, it seems like, for minorities, and it shouldn't be that way. We should be doctors and lawyers. We come from ancestors that are kings and queens, and from Egypt to Africa. All the medicine and science and stuff like that, the pyramids, how much math was done. Why should we be so weak? So it's the educational system. It's the health system. It's the housing system. So all of these need to be addressed before our children can have a positive. We don't even get an education on the greatness of our ancestors in African American in history. American history doesn't even address the Indians, the indigenous people. They don't even address African during the Civil War, Africans, how much they played in the. They don't even address. France gives the military men more credit for what they did, the war for France. I had the opportunity to go to Black Paris, and you should see how they honor our military, our Black men. When they got on the plane and came back here, they was lynched when they went down south with their uniform on. So it's. This is what we have to address. The marginal people, the people that are not living to the standard or have the opportunity to go to a school of education, unless it's something like, if you have a income below, I don't know, $15,000 or something like that, you can go to Harvard or Cornell. How many kids do that? So we have to all come together and make sure that they're educated and that they have the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And that's why that's why the mayor went to because you know what it takes. It's not politically correct, or it's not right to address the marginal people, the underserved people. But that they need the people that are making money to get the financing, because that's the most important thing. You can't change anything if you don't have any money. So he went up there as an approach to go up there, and people said, "What is a mayor doing there when this city is this violent?" He's going up there to try to make the changes that's necessary. So it's a step in a different direction. No other mayor did it. Maybe he wasn't smart enough to know that this may be a change. So, we have to all come together.
But that's how we're going to end it. We're going to end it on that note that we need to be. Vanessa, you had something right quick?
Yeah, I just want to say something. We know, yes, I agree with that. What I wanted to just say that we know racism is a public health issue. We know we have all the social determinants, the health inequities, health inequalities, the social injustices. And this is where it needs to start, with the boots on the ground, in order for us as a people, a community, so we can move on to the next level.
Yes. Okay. Unity in the community.
Yes. Right.
Unity in the community.
We're gonna end it on that note. And hopefully, I want to thank you both for coming on and sharing all your knowledge, your experience. That you have, that you've been able to help the community, and we still can continue this conversation because it's gonna go on and on and on.
Yes.
But I just hope that the people will try to support the mayor in what he's doing. Yes. We don't have to agree with everything that he's doing, but we need to support what he's doing. Yeah. And if something needs changing, then you write a letter, get a meeting with him, and see how you can get so much change or whatever. But we must, this is our time to come together and be supportive, and also be supportive in your community. And as parents, we need to come together so we can all help discipline each other's kids, so we can keep them out of the system. Because that's the whole thing, is for us to work together with our children to make sure they're on the right road and doing the right thing. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Sorry we kept you so long.
Yeah, well, to my
No,
next
that's
show.
all
man.
right.
With the after show. So we want to
got
thank you
another
for
show.
joining
They
us.
text
And
me the
thank
whole
you for
time.
staying around watching the after show. We want to thank you for sticking around.
Thanks
So,
for having
And
me.
thank you for
as
having us.
always,
Thank you.
we'll see you next time.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.